Welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Cartoon Game Reviews. This week I'm taking a look at Ren and Stimpy's Veediots on the Super Nintendo. Now Ren and Stimpy was huge back in the 90s. It was off the wall weird, dark, gross and hilarious. I'm not sure it'd make it onto kids' TV nowadays, but I'm so glad it did back then. Now I've already taken a look at Stimpy's invention on the Mega Drive, and that was not a great game. Let's see if Veediots can do any better. My name's Scott, and this is Living Rad. It's another action platformer, and it looks good. It controls okay, and it sounds decent. Although the theme tune did sound better on the Mega Drive. It's got a total of 4 levels which are split into several sections. One of those sections being a boss. All of the levels are based on episodes which they share their name with. The first level, The Boy Who Cried Rat, is simple enough. You play as Ren and you avoid Stimpy and his mouse traps until you get to the end on the right hand side of the level. You can also attack Stimpy by either slapping him or throwing household items at him. There's money scattered around and hidden in some places. Each note gives you 25 cents, and the same goes for the piggy banks hidden in the TVs. And if you collect a total of $5, you get 1 bar of health recovered. The reason it's $5 is a reference to the episode the level is based on, which is well worth a watch if you haven't seen it. But the $5 for a bar of health continues on throughout the rest of the game. There's also some cheese you can eat, which causes Ren to burp a green gas projectile. The cheese is another reference to the episode. And finally, near the end of the level is a heart which gives you a 1-up. Once you get to the end, you enter Stimpy's mouth, which brings us on to the next section. Navigating through Stimpy's mouth. Head to the left, avoid falling lumps of whatever that is, the rotten gas clouds and the mouth beavers. The beavers don't do you any damage, but they hamper your jumping ability, so if one does get you, jump up and down until you shake it off. But most importantly, don't touch the wiggling nerves, as Stimpy will bite down, causing an instant death. There are also a few power-ups introduced here. A sock for Ren to eat, another reference to the episode, which makes you run faster for a short amount of time, and some powdered toast which makes you invulnerable to attacks, but not invincible, because hitting a nerve will still cause an instant death. And finally, a toothbrush which gives you a bar of health back. Then we meet our first boss. A beaver riding Stimpy's tongue. He's very easy, just throw 3 teeth at him and he's out. Wait till he's up in the air to go underneath him to get to the teeth, and you can also catch a tooth you've already thrown if it comes back down to save some time. Now it's time to escape Stimpy's mouth. It's similar to entering it, but in the other direction and a little bit quicker. I died here a few times by touching nerves and actually got my first game over, which is where I encountered the game's biggest issue. When you continue, you start at the beginning of the level, not the last section, but I was back to inside the house, which meant doing everything all over again, which was quite frustrating and time consuming. Anyway, in this section, Stimpy's mouth is slowly closing, so make your way through it quickly. Although every level is on a timer, the closing mouth really puts the pressure on. And as before, watch out for obstacles, especially those nerves. Next we have In the Army. I actually rented this game for a weekend as a kid, and this was as far as I could get back then. So I wasn't sure I'd do much better this time. Luckily, my skills have improved somewhat over the years, as I didn't find any of this too difficult. Slap your way through the soldiers, Use the umbrella to dodge watermelons and extinguish any flames if you find yourself on fire. There's a couple of power-ups introduced in this stage. Powdered Toast Man chucks you a propeller for your head, which allows you to fly for a short amount of time. And an old plaster or band-aid for a bar of health. The second section can seem a little confusing at the start, as it's kind of maze-like. But once you know what to do, it's actually the shortest stage in the game. The arrows and umbrellas everywhere really add to the confusion, but don't pay too much attention to them. Find this hovering soldier, steal his propeller, and fly on up to victory. The final army section is another case of heading right once again. There's two paths you can take, above or underground. And this section features Muddy Mud Skipper jumping up from under the bridges. Nothing too taxing here. Then on to the boss. Straight away you are bombarded with pineapple grenades. Hop onto the helicopter and hold on for dear life until they stop. And then the drill sergeant rolls in. Stimpy throws you some ham for health, get it if you need it. Then he chucks you some pineapple grenades, which you need to pick up and throw at the sergeant's head 3 times. Nice and easy. Now we swap characters, taking control of Stimpy. We tackle Stimpy's invention. These sections play with more of a puzzle theme going on. Nothing too taxing, but fun to figure out. The only enemies here to contend with are the electrodes and the timer. Once you've figured out all of the puzzles, it's the boss battle. This is the easiest boss in the game. You just have to throw Stimpy's invention on Ren's head. The hardest part about it is you have to be pretty exact, but it's still not too difficult. And the final level is Marooned, which changes the gameplay up again. As Stimpy falls through an alien's insides, you have to flap his arms to dodge other creatures until you reach the bottom. It might take a couple of goes to remember what's where, but it's a fun change from the platforming. Collect the green blobs for health as you drop, and just keep flapping and falling until you reach the bottom. Then we're met with another platforming level. It's kind of maze-like and it's filled with new enemies like space cabbages and space frogs. There's plenty of health power-ups and money scattered around here to help you through, and the Space Cadet manual acts as a boomerang, which is helpful for taking out enemies, as I found Stimpy's tongue missed them sometimes. Then we have a slightly harder falling section. But again, once you've learnt what's where, you'll breeze through it. Then a final longer platforming section which ramps up the difficulty a little more. But again, plenty of power-ups to get you through. Then we have a turning puzzle with some spikes to avoid, which will lead you to the final boss. Stay above him and chuck pink things at his head 3 times and you're done. Veediots is a far better game than I remembered or was expecting. It's not a hidden gem, but it's a fun game and will take a couple of hours to get through. It's got some varied gameplay and blows Stimpy's invention out of the water. It would have benefited hugely from some sort of password system, as you need to try and beat it in one sitting, so it might be worth emulating, so you can use save states, but it's not that difficult or long, so I would recommend buying it and giving it a go as it was intended. Again, it's no hidden gem, but it's better than bad, it's good. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe and all that. See you next time.